Su-hong has a system which makes his learning speed absurd. It takes him 1 second to learn C-rank martial arts, 2 seconds for master, 3 seconds for perfect SSS rank techniques. A spar was going on between two students. One punch landed hard, and the one on the receiving end sucked in a breath, complaining that it hurt like hell. He laughed it off, saying Su-hong's Vajra fist had clearly improved again, and wondered out loud if he'd already stepped into the micro level. Su-hong stayed calm and said he'd only broken through to micro level 2 days ago. In this world, martial arts were divided into ranks: basic, proficient, micro level, mastered, and perfect. Reaching micro level already put someone ahead of most peers. The other student couldn't help admiring him, saying that just based on Vajra fist alone, no one else in their class could compare. He asked if Su-hong was done resting so they could continue practicing, but the pain from that single punch was still lingering, and he had no intention of taking another hit. Calling Su-hong a cultivation maniac, he waved him off and said he was heading home to eat. Before leaving, he politely bade Teacher Lee goodbye. Teacher Lee reminded him to straighten his clothes before going. Then he turned to Su-hong and finally caught him, asking why he still hadn't paid the 30,000 registration fee for the martial arts department. Applications were closing next month. Su-hong hesitated and asked if he could be given a few more days. Teacher Lee sighed, saying he understood the family situation, but rules were rules and there was nothing he could do. After everyone else left, Su-hong stayed behind, continuing to practice alone. No matter how many times he repeated his forms, one thought kept circling in his mind: the 30,000 registration fee. His memories drifted back. When he was 3, his parents had died during a ferocious beast disaster. Since then, he'd lived with his uncle and aunt. After discovering his talent for martial arts, they had done everything they could to support his training. In an era where ferocious beasts roamed freely, martial artists earned good money. He had trained to give them a better life, yet now it felt like he was only making things harder for them. Later, in a quiet corner, he returned to the cramped, worn-down place he called home. He asked softly whether the rent was almost due and how much they were still short. His uncle's voice came first, saying the rent could wait and that little Hong's registration fee should be paid first. His aunt followed, saying that with such talent, Su-hong was sure to succeed one day and they couldn't afford to hold him back. Then she added, almost casually, that she would stop taking her medicine. It wasn't curing her anyway, and it would save money. His uncle immediately objected, telling her he'd just take on another job instead. She should stay home, rest properly, and focus on her health. Everything else, he said, would work out. Hearing all of this from the shadows, Su-hong felt a tight ache in his chest, and sadness quietly washed over him. He couldn't help feeling that this was a stupid, messed up world. It had twisted his life into something he could barely recognize. Everywhere he looked, people were greedy. If someone simply wanted to register for something they were talented at, they still had to pay money for it. Money he had no talent for earning. If he really had been good at making money, he probably wouldn't have had talent for martial arts at all. The more he thought about it, the crazier the world felt. Pushing those thoughts aside, he opened the door and called out that he was back. His aunt, who treated him like her own son, immediately fussed over him, asking why he'd practiced so late again and telling him he must be exhausted. Su-hong tried to take over the chores, telling her he'd handle it, but she waved him off, saying it was nothing and that he should go rest so he wouldn't be tired the next day. His uncle backed her up, telling him to listen and go rest quickly. Su-hong returned to his room, but sleep refused to come. He lay there, wide awake, his thoughts running in circles. His uncle and aunt had already sacrificed so much for him. He couldn't keep letting that happen. This time, he would solve his own problem. For a martial artist to earn tens of thousands in just a few days, there was only one place that came to mind. The very next day, a loud announcement echoed through the streets. Audience friends were welcomed to the Martial Apprentice Arena Challenge, where only victory or defeat mattered, regardless of life or death. It was the underground martial arena. The announcer's voice rose as he introduced the ring defender for the day, someone called Mr. Minotaur. If he could win 4 matches in a row, he'd walk away with 60,000 in prize money. If not, he'd get nothing. The crowd was told to watch closely. The audience immediately erupted in whispers. No one recognized him. Some guessed he was a rookie. Others scoffed, saying a newcomer jumping straight into the arena challenge was basically courting death. Off to the side, the announcer leaned over and told the kid to show some passion and heat up the atmosphere. Minotaur looked confused and asked how he was supposed to do that. The announcer sighed and told him to provoke the crowd, curse a little. This was exactly why rookies were such a headache. Realization dawned on Minotaur. Letting out a roar, he shouted that below the level of a martial artist, he was invincible invincible, calling on all weaklings to come and fight him. The crowd exploded at once. Some cursed him for being absurdly arrogant, while others laughed and praised the guts. The atmosphere instantly boiled over. Someone in the crowd sneered that this guy wouldn't even know how he died later. That only lit the fuse. Cheers erupted from every direction. Some people shouted that it was good, others yelled for blood, and a few just cursed at the so-called Minotaur at the top of their lungs. With the atmosphere boiling over, the announcer declared that the match had officially begun. Behind the Minotaur mask, Su-hong stayed calm. He could clearly feel the heavy killing intent unique to the underground arena. Still, this was the fastest way to gather enough tuition money. As long as he could win a few rounds with his Vajra fist, it would be worth it. His first opponent stepped forward, calling him an arrogant brat and saying he'd play with him a little. Su-hong barely paid attention, his eyes calmly sizing the man up. The opponent's momentum was strong, but his footing was unstable. From the look of it, winning wouldn't be difficult. Seeing him space out, the opponent cursed and charged straight in with a punch. Su-hong sidestepped it cleanly, then casually swung his other hand. The strike landed square on the man's jaw, sending him flying straight back to where he'd come from. Next, the announcer instantly lost her composure. She was already starting to love this masked fighter, even joking to herself that she might want to ask him out someday. Laughing into the mic, she shouted that Minotaur had taken his first win. The crowd exploded with excited shouts and cheers. A second challenger stepped up, scoffing that the last one had just been unlucky, but things would be different this time. Su-hong simply replied with a casual please, while calmly judging his opponent. Based on his build, the guy's strength should be decent, perfect for testing how powerful his Vajra fist really was. The man shouted and leapt in with a heavy punch. Su-hong met it head-on. With one Vajra fist strike, he shattered the incoming force. The opponent cried out in shock at the sheer power behind it. Su-hong could already tell the difference. Strong, but still weaker than him. After tanking a single counterattack, he'd relied too much on his upper body, leaving his waist wide open. Su-hong followed up with a brutal kick, and the man was sent flying off the stage just like the first. The arena went wild. Some people cursed in disbelief, others shouted that he was insanely strong. Next, the announcer excitedly declared that Minotaur had achieved 2 consecutive wins. The cheers grew even louder, almost deafening. In a quieter corner, a few well-dressed spectators watched with sharp eyes. One of them muttered that the kid wasn't even a quasi-martial artist, yet his strength far surpassed the average. There was no doubt about it, this one was unusual. The announcer's voice rang out again, declaring Minotaur's 3rd consecutive win. In the viewing area, one of the men watching commented that the kid was better than the worst but nowhere near the best. Someone like that, he said, was perfect material for match fixing. From behind him, a masked young man spoke up, saying he'd go handle it. The older man reminded him not to reveal the fact that he had already broken through to martial artist level. After racking up so many wins, Su-hong felt increasingly confident. Ordinary martial apprentices were no longer much of a challenge to him. With his Vajra fist at the micro level, winning one more match would earn him the full 60,000 prize money. Just then, the crowd suddenly stirred. People started shouting that White Fox was actually stepping into the ring. The moment the masked fighter appeared, the arena erupted. Some exclaimed that White Fox was a quasi-martial artist. Others protested that a quasi-martial artist fighting a martial apprentice was basically cheating. Su-hong's heart sank slightly. A quasi-martial artist, this match was going to be troublesome. Still, backing down wasn't an option. He couldn't afford to lose now. White Fox stopped in front of him and studied him calmly before speaking, telling him not to be afraid. He even claimed he knew how to hold back. The announcer's voice cut in again, declaring the final match of the arena challenge and shouting for the fight to begin. Both fighters exploded forward at full speed. Su-hong immediately sensed the gap in their realms. His cultivation was lower, so he had no choice but to go all out with his opening move. His punch blasted forward, sending visible shockwaves rippling through the air. The collision shook the ring as both sides displayed frightening power. The instant their fists met, Su-hong's heart skipped. This power, something was wrong. His opponent wasn't a quasi-martial artist at all. He was a true martial artist who had deliberately suppressed his vitality. A surge of tension washed over Su-hong. He'd never expected a monster like this to appear out of nowhere. White Fox took a sharp breath and launched another attack, unleashing the Thunder Rush Fist. One strike followed another in rapid succession, each blow heavier than the last. Under the relentless assault, Su-hong was forced back, pain spreading through his body. So this was the strength of a real martial martial artist. The crowd was stunned. Someone recognized the technique, shouting that it was the 3 Echo Thunder Rush Fist. No one had expected to see such a move here, and the surprise alone was worth the price of admission. Others shook their heads, saying the Minotaur was finished. To them, the outcome was already obvious. Yet White Fox showed no intention of stopping, his attacks continuing one after another, pressing the advantage without mercy. After a while, White Fox clearly started getting bored. He told Minotaur that only defending was pointless and urged him to fight back, saying he wanted to see what kind of strength he really had. For now, Minotaur could do nothing but block. Even through his defenses, the punches were tearing into him, pain spreading with every impact. If this kept up, he knew he would lose for sure. He needed a chance to counterattack, but White Fox's strikes were too fast and too relentless, leaving no openings at all. Then White Fox found one himself. Punch shot straight toward Minotaur's jaw. The impact sent him flying, and he crashed hard onto the ground. Lying there, his vision blurred as his consciousness began to fade. Before he could recover, White Fox stepped up and spoke calmly. He told him that he wouldn't get a single coin of the prize money from this match, but his teacher was willing to invite him in. If Minotaur agreed to fix matches for them in the future, they would pay him the equivalent of this match's prize money. Even with White Fox's foot pressing down on his face, Minotaur refused without hesitation. He said he would never do something so shameless. White Fox was briefly taken aback. He hadn't expected such a firm rejection. Regaining his composure, he warned him to think carefully, saying that refusing them came with a price he couldn't afford. Minotaur shot back, asking whether people who did things like this really deserved to call themselves martial artists. That was enough. White Fox said there was nothing left to discuss. As he turned to leave, he coldly added that since Minotaur wouldn't cooperate, he had no choice but to cripple him, so he could only dream about being a martial artist in the future. As White Fox moved to strike his leg, those words echoed in Minotaur's mind, sharp and piercing: become a martial artist. A surge of instinct kicked in. He twisted away at the last moment, narrowly avoiding the blow. He couldn't afford to be crippled. Forcing himself back up, Minotaur re-entered the fight. White Fox stared in surprise as Minotaur steadied himself, eyes burning. He couldn't fall here. Not here. Something snapped inside him, and a second wind surged through his battered body. White Fox couldn't hide his shock. He'd clearly landed a Thunder Rush Fist earlier, yet somehow this guy was still standing. Yet in his heart, Su Hong remained painfully clear-headed. He wanted to become a martial artist. He couldn't allow the sacrifices his uncle and aunt had made over all these years to be wasted. He wanted to give them a good life. But did that really mean he had to abandon everything a martial artist was supposed to stand for? The answer came almost instantly. No, that kind of future was something he would never accept. At that very moment, something strange happened. A translucent status window suddenly appeared right in front of his eyes. Cold, emotionless words floated on it, asking what he was willing to sacrifice for his future and for his faith. Su Hong didn't hesitate. His eyes burned with fierce resolve as he answered, without the slightest doubt, that he was willing to give up everything. The notification asked again whether he was truly willing to pay the price. Minotaur answered the same way as before, everything. The moment the word left his mouth, something inside him began to change. His shadow on the ground twisted and stretched, slowly turning into the outline of a terrifying monster. Su Hong was stunned. He had no idea where this place was, and the shadow looming behind him belonged to some massive, unknown being. Before he could ask anything, that existence spoke, saying it would give him this chance. An unfamiliar aura wrapped around Su Hong, and another translucent status window appeared in front of him, listing his information in detail. Name: Su Hong. Vitality 85. Spirit 23. Physique: mortal body. Mission: Way of the Arena. Martial skills: Vajra Fist, micro level 7%. Floating Light Palm, proficient 35%. Void Step, proficient 56%. Martial value 0. Su Hong stared at it in disbelief. It really did look like it was displaying all of his attributes. On a whim, he reached out and touched the mission section, half wondering if it worked like a touchscreen. The moment he did, a new notification popped up. Random mission: Way of the Arena. Mission description: the road to becoming a powerhouse is full of thorns. Player, please polish your martial arts here and deal with White Fox waiting in the outside world. Objectives: hone your martial arts, raise Vajra Fist to the mastered level, and raise Floating Light Palm and Void Step to the micro level. Mission reward: Beginner's Guide. Current progress, Vajra Fist, micro level. Note, completing this mission will unlock the Beginner's Guide. Beginner's Guide? Before he could think further, a fist suddenly shot straight toward his face. Su Hong instinctively ducked. When he looked up, he froze. Standing in front of him was someone who looked exactly like him. The clone moved with perfect form, using Vajra Fist with a level of subtlety that far surpassed his own. Every movement was standard and precise, like something straight out of a textbook. With such a flawless example right in front of him, there was no way he could let the opportunity slip. As he exchanged blows with the clone, a realization struck him. This wasn't just a fight, it was a demonstration. Midway through the exchange, he noticed something else. His Vajra Fist